The day laughter filled the council. The Galactic Council had witnessed the extinction of 1,000 species, and it had never felt the need to apologize. The Hall of Concordance hovered above a gravity well the color of midnight oil, its vast rings stacked like the tiers of a cosmic amphitheater. Each platform was claimed by an empire that had survived long enough to earn the right to decide who else would not. Ancient banners shimmered with living sigils. Thrones were carved from bone, crystal, metal, and stranger substances still alive. And at the lowest ring stood the newest delegation. Humans. They did not float. They did not coil or anchor themselves with talons. They simply stood, upright, balanced, unarmed. That alone drew attention. High Counselor Zirith Vo of the Serati Imperium was the first to laugh. His insectoid frame shifted as his mandibles clattered together, bioluminescent veins flaring with amusement. "These are the soulborn?" he rasped. "No armor grafts. No visible psionic dampeners. Bare skin in a war chamber." Laughter rippled outward. Counselor Maelkor Dren, a mountain of obsidian flesh and molten seams, released a deep rumble that shook the chamber. "They look unfinished." From another platform, Matriarch Ilthena Kor of the Silken Dominion flicked her jeweled tongue. "Did their species mature early? Or are these their elders?" The sound grew louder, clicking, roaring, psychic echoes of shared mockery. It was ritual. The council laughed at newcomers the way predators tested prey. At the center of the human platform stood Ambassador Elara Miles. She wore no insignia beyond a small silver emblem shaped like a split circle. Her hair was pulled back, her posture straight but not rigid. Behind her stood Commander Jonah Cade, broad-shouldered and quiet, and Dr. Soren Vale, whose sharp eyes missed nothing. Elara waited until the laughter crested. Then she spoke. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she said, her voice unamplified, clear in the vast hall. "Humanity thanks you for granting us audience." That made the laughter worse. Council Speaker Threxel 1, an avian construct fused with machine logic, struck the floor with a resonant staff. "Order," it commanded. "This session will proceed." Zirith leaned forward. "Proceed quickly, human. You are late to the stars and early to your disappointment." Elara inclined her head slightly. "We understand." With a subtle gesture, the stars above shifted. Light rearranged itself into images, human vessels leaving their home system, small and fragile against the void. Early colonies clinging to hostile worlds. Ships repaired instead of replaced, crews aging alongside their hulls. The council laughed again. "They show us weakness," Maelkor said. "As if it were a virtue." Dr. Vale stepped forward. "No," he said softly. "We are showing you restraint." The projection changed. Human conflicts, brief, contained. Weapons deliberately limited. Entire branches of technology sealed away by their own creators. Borders held not by annihilation but agreement. The laughter thinned. Commander Cade spoke next. "We learned something early," he said. "Power without control ends everything. Including the victor." Ziritha's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Pretty philosophy. The galaxy is not gentle." Elara met his gaze. "Neither are we." That earned silence. The projection shifted once more. Human fleets, not enormous, not ornate, but precise. Modular ships adapting mid-flight. Formations flowing like living systems. Not designed to terrify. Designed to persist. "You laugh because we do not look like conquerors," Elara said. "You expected us to beg. Or kneel." She straightened fully. "We did neither." Threxel 1's wings hummed. "You stand improperly," it observed. "We stand intentionally," Elara replied. A murmur passed through the council. "You judge strength by how loudly it announces itself," she continued. "By how much it can destroy in a single moment." Her voice hardened just slightly. "We judge strength by what endures pressure without becoming cruel." Zirith hissed. "Words do not earn a place among empires." Elara nodded. "We are not asking for a place." That made every counselor lean forward. "We are informing you," she said, "that humanity already exists within your equations. Your trade routes. Your border skirmishes. Your future projections." She paused. "And we will no longer pretend to be invisible." The Hall of Concordance fell silent. No laughter. No whispers. Only the distant hum of the gravity well below. For the first time since the humans arrived at the Galactic Council, the galaxy listened. Measured in silence. Silence had never frightened the Galactic Council. Noise was for panic, for war, for the desperate. Silence was order. Control. The quiet certainty that power sat exactly where it always had. Yet the silence that followed humanity's declaration felt unfamiliar. Council Speaker Threxel 1 broke it first. The human delegation has made a statement of existence, it said, voice echoing through the Hall of Concordance. Existence does not equate to relevance. A low ripple of agreement passed through the upper platforms. High Counselor Zirith Vo folded his bladed limbs. Every cycle, new species emerge claiming uniqueness. They are tested. They fail. The galaxy continues. Ambassador Alara Miles did not respond immediately. She looked at her team, at Commander Jonah Cade, then Dr. Soren Vale, and nodded once. Then test us, Alara said. That earned attention. Mailcore Dren's obsidian plates shifted, heat glowing in the seams. Bold for a species without council sanction. We survived without it, Cade replied evenly. A few counselors bristled. Threxel 1 raised its staff. Very well. Humanity of soul, you will undergo an evaluation. The word carried weight. Evaluations were rarely survived intact. Your fleets will be measured against standard deterrence simulations, Threxel 1 continued. Your economic impact modeled. Your psychological resilience assessed. Ziritha's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. We will observe how quickly they fold. The gravity well below the hall brightened and space itself bent. A simulated star system bloomed into existence. 12 hostile armadas encircling a single inhabited world. Dr. Vale's eyes narrowed. Is that system populated? Threxel 1 replied without emotion. Hypothetically. Alara's jaw tightened. And the objective? Survive, Threxel 1 said. Or fail. The simulation began. Alien fleets surged inward, weapons charging with spectacular excess. Planet-cracking cannons. Reality-shearing beams. Total annihilation doctrines executed with ceremonial precision. Human vessels appeared. They did not rush to engage. Instead they dispersed. Zirith laughed. They flee. No, Vale murmured. They adapt. Human ships split into autonomous clusters, weaving through debris fields, slipping between gravitational distortions. Some vanished entirely, reappearing behind enemy lines without fanfare. They did not target flagships. They targeted logistics. Fuel carriers went dark. Command relays failed. Entire armadas slowed, not destroyed, just interrupted. Mailcore leaned forward. They're not winning. They're surviving, Ilthena Core whispered. On the simulated planet below, shields flickered, but held. Human vessels repositioned constantly, never committing to total engagement, never leaving their world undefended. Threxel 1's wings hummed at a higher frequency. Time to projected collapse? A subroutine answered. Indeterminate. Ziritha's bioluminescence dimmed. Impossible. The simulation accelerated. Hours passed. Then days. The hostile armadas remained intact, but exhausted. Disorganized. Their overwhelming power rendered inefficient by constant disruption. Finally, one alien fleet attempted escalation. They fired on the planet. The response was immediate. Human ships converged, not to retaliate but to interpose. Layers of overlapping shields absorbed the strike, burning out half the defending vessels in the process. Commander Cade exhaled slowly. They sacrificed themselves, Mailcore said, stunned. To save civilians, Alara replied quietly. The simulation froze. The Hall of Concordance was silent again, but this time it was not comfortable. Threxel 1 processed for several seconds. Conclusion: humanity demonstrates anomalous endurance, adaptive coordination, and non-dominance prioritization. Zirith hissed. They lost ships. Alara met his gaze. We lose people every time we choose not to burn a system. A murmur spread. Ilthena's coils tightened. Why? Alara answered honestly. Because victory that costs everything isn't victory. It's just extinction with better timing. Threxel 1 turned its artificial gaze upon the human delegation. This behavior is statistically inefficient. Dr. Vale nodded. So is mercy. The gravity well dimmed. The simulation vanished. You have not proven superiority, Zirith said. No, Alara agreed. We proved stability. She took a step forward. And stability changes systems over time. The council did not dismiss them. That alone was unprecedented. As the session adjourned, whispers followed the humans, calculations recalculated, assumptions quietly rewritten. High above the hall, ancient empires began to realize something unsettling. Humanity did not need to conquer the galaxy. They only needed to outlast it. The cost of underestimation. The Serati Imperium did not believe in warnings. They believed in precedent, and precedent had never favored restraint. Within a single rotation of the Galactic Council's adjournment, High Counselor Zirith Vo convened his war conclave. The chamber aboard the dread carrier Claw of Dominion glowed with bioorganic light, walls pulsing in rhythm with the Imperium's collective aggression. Humanity survived a simulation, Zirith hissed. Nothing more. The warlords gathered around him clattered their mandibles in agreement. Simulations were abstractions. Reality was decisive. They possessed territory bordering Serati expansion lanes, one commander said. Unclaimed by Council charter. Then we will claim it, Zirith replied. Quietly. The strike was meant to be instructional, not catastrophic. A single system. A peripheral human colony, mineral-rich, lightly defended. Enough destruction to remind the Council who dictated the galaxy's terms. The chosen target was Eidolon Reach, a young human settlement orbiting a blue-white star. No planetary shields. No visible defense grid. Civilian infrastructure still under construction. Perfect. The Serati fleet arrived without ceremony. Their ships cut from hyperspace like blades through skin, weapon clusters already glowing. They broadcast a single message, ancient, formal, final. Yield or be erased. On Eidolon Reach, alarms rang. Governor Mara Ilias stood in the command center as technicians scrambled. How long? She asked. 6 minutes, came the answer. Maybe less. She closed her eyes once, then opened a secure channel. Transmit code Emberfall, she said calmly. Somewhere beyond the system's edge that signal was received. The Serati did not wait. They fired. Orbital platforms disintegrated. Dockyards bloomed into fire. Cities below braced as the sky burned. Then something strange happened. Human ships arrived, not in force but in fragments. Small vessels emerged from unpredictable vectors, slipping between Serati formations like ghosts. Zirith observed from his command throne, amused. They come to die. But the humans did not engage the dread carriers. They hit sensors. Communications went dark. Targeting data scrambled. Entire Serati squadrons lost synchronization, their hive minds stuttering under unfamiliar interference. What is happening? A warlord snapped. Ziritha's bioluminescence flickered. They are jamming us with... He stopped. The humans weren't jamming. They were rewriting. Serati ships began firing at false echoes, phantom fleets that dissolved on impact. Navigation systems looped. Weapons overheated without targets. Meanwhile, below, evacuation transports launched under cover of chaos. Human vessels shielded them, weaving sacrificial arcs through incoming fire. One transport exploded. Another escaped. Commander Jonah Cade watched from the bridge of the UNS Perseverant. His hands were steady. Phase 2, he ordered. Human ships surged, not toward the enemy but inward. They formed a lattice around Eidolon Reach, a living shield of hulls and energy fields. Serati fire tore through them. They held. Zirith rose from his throne. Enough. Destroy the planet. The command echoed but did not execute. A Serati officer turned, mandibles trembling. Command authority, overridden. What? Zirith roared. A new signal cut through the chaos, clear, unmistakably human. This is Ambassador Elara Miles of Sol, her voice said. High Counselor Zirith Vo, your attack has been recorded in full. Zirith hissed. You dare interfere? We dare respond, Elara replied. On the tactical display, new signatures appeared. Human fleets, real ones. Not massive. Not glorious. Relentless. They arrived in waves, each one exploiting gaps created by the last. Serati ships were not destroyed outright. They were disabled. Boarded. Isolated. Zirith felt something unfamiliar coil in his thorax. Tom. This was taking too long. The Imperium's advantage depended on overwhelming force. On fear. Humanity gave them neither. Hours later, Eidolon Reach still stood, scarred, burning, alive. The Serati fleet retreated. It was the first time in 3,000 cycles that an Imperium strike force withdrew without victory. Back in the Hall of Concordance, news spread like a fracture through crystal. A sanctioned empire had attacked an unsanctioned species, and failed. Counselors whispered. Calculations shifted. And somewhere deep in the galaxy's ancient power structures, a terrible realization took hold. Humanity did not retaliate with extermination. They retaliated with endurance, And that made them far more dangerous. When empires begin to whisper, the Galactic Council had always been loud. Debate thundered through the Hall of Concordance in roars, hisses, psychic waves, and subsonic rumbles. Power announced itself here. Authority demanded spectacle. But after Eidolon reached, the noise changed. Whispers replaced laughter. Counselors gathered in private channels, encryption layers stacked thick as paranoia. Historical records were re-examined. Strategic forecasts rewritten. For the first time in millennia, the phrase statistical anomaly appeared in official council memoranda. High Counselor Zirith Vo stood alone on his platform when the emergency session was convened. The absence was conspicuous. Several allied empires did not answer the call. Council Speaker Threxel I activated the central projection. This assembly acknowledges an unsanctioned military action conducted by the Sarati Imperium against the human colony designated Eidolon Reach. All eyes turned. Zirith lifted his mandibles with practiced arrogance. A border clarification, he said. Nothing more. The projection shifted. Footage streamed into the hall. Sarati warships firing on civilian structures, human evacuation corridors, sacrificial defense lines collapsing one by one. The silence that followed was heavy. Your clarification violated 3 council statutes, Threxel I said. And failed. A ripple of unease moved through the tiers. Melkor Dren's molten seams dimmed. You lost ships. Zirith hissed. Losses are irrelevant. They are when they change precedent, replied Matriarch Ilthena Kor. Her coils tightened. The humans did not counterstrike your core worlds. They did not demand reparations. They documented. That word lingered. Documented. Dr. Soren Vale stood beside Ambassador Elara Miles as the human delegation was summoned forward. Not to the lowest ring this time, but to a mid-tier platform. Protocol had shifted. Elara's expression remained composed. We submitted evidence of the attack, she said. As required. Zirith snapped. You baited us. Elara met his gaze evenly. You chose to test us in reality instead of listening in council. Threxel I processed silently. Humanity's response demonstrated restraint under direct aggression. That is not strength, Zirith snarled. It is cowardice. Commander Jonah Cade stepped forward. Cowardice is burning cities to feel powerful, he said. Restraint is stopping when you can go further. A murmur spread. Melkor rumbled thoughtfully. Why did you not pursue the Imperium? You had opportunity. Elara answered honestly. Because escalation benefits the one who fears consequences the least. That wasn't us. Ilthena's eyes gleamed. Then who does it benefit? Elara paused. The empire that assumes everyone else thinks like it. The words landed harder than any threat. Threxel I raised its staff. The council must determine humanity's status. Unaligned entities demonstrating this level of influence cannot remain undefined. Zirith recoiled. They are not an empire. No, Vale said quietly. We are a coalition. The projection shifted again, maps unfurled. Human systems interlinked not by conquest but agreement. Independent worlds sharing defense frameworks, resources, evacuation protocols. No central throne. No single point of failure. A few counselors leaned back, unsettled. You cannot decapitate that, Melkor muttered. Ilthena's voice softened. They are difficult to frighten. Threxel I spoke again. Humanity of soul. What do you seek? Elara took a breath. Recognition. Not dominance. And if denied? Zirith demanded. Elara's gaze did not waver. Then we continue existing. Adapting. Recording. That frightened them more than a threat ever could. The council recessed for deliberation. For the first time in its history, a vote was delayed, not due to war but uncertainty. In private chambers, empires whispered. About supply chains disrupted by human trade alternatives. About border skirmishes where humans absorbed losses without rage. About allies who found human diplomats reasonable. Back on the human platform, Cade exhaled. They're scared. Vale nodded. Not of our weapons. Elara watched the ancient banners ripple. They're scared because we don't need them to lose. Across the hall, Zirith Vo realized something too late. By attacking humanity he had not exposed weakness. He had taught the galaxy how humans responded when tested. And the galaxy was beginning to listen. The vote that should not exist. The Galactic Council was not designed to hesitate. Its laws were rigid, its procedures ancient, its outcomes predictable. Empires rose, empires fell, and the Council remained unchanged, unquestioned. Until humanity. The deliberation chambers remained sealed far longer than protocol allowed. Counselors paced within private spheres, consulting war oracles, probability engines, ancestral intelligences. Every model returned the same unsettling result. Humanity did not collapse under pressure. They adapted around it. Council Speaker Threxel 1 reconvened the assembly with a resonance strike that echoed sharper than usual. The Council will now consider Resolution 17-4, the classification of humanity of soul. The word sent a ripple through the hall. Classification was not recognition. It was containment. High Counselor Zirith Vo surged forward, his bioluminescence flaring. They are a destabilizing force. Granting them status invites erosion of council authority. Melkor Dren countered slowly. Denying them may provoke consequences we cannot model. That is fear speaking, Zirith hissed. Yes, Melkor replied. Fear earned. The resolution unfurled above the gravity well. Humanity of soul shall be designated a limited sovereign entity under council oversight. Expansion restricted. Military development monitored. Violations punishable by sanction or eradication. Ilara Miles read the text without visible reaction. Commander Jonah Cade clenched his fists. Dr. Soren Vale exhaled through his nose. They want us leashed. Threxel 1 turned to the human delegation. You may respond. Ilara stepped forward. You offer us survival in exchange for obedience, she said calmly. We have survived without either. Zirith snapped. You exist because we allow it. Ilara's voice hardened. We exist because no one has managed to end us. The chamber stirred. Ilthena Kor watched intently. If you reject this resolution, you invite war. Ilara nodded. If we accept it, we invite extinction, slowly, politely, and with your permission. She gestured behind her. The projection changed. Human history unfolded, not triumphs but losses. Cities rebuilt. Cultures preserved after devastation. Entire generations choosing cooperation over annihilation because the alternative was final. We are not offended by oversight, Ilara continued. We are offended by ownership. Silence pressed in. Threxel 1 processed longer than usual. The council does not recognize moral offense. Dr. Vale stepped forward. Then recognize mathematics. Data flooded the hall. Trade flows rerouted through human corridors. Resource exchanges stabilizing volatile regions. Border conflicts cooling where humans mediated instead of conquered. Melkor rumbled in surprise. They've already integrated themselves. Zirith hissed. Insidiously. Ilara met his glare. Peace spreads quietly. The vote was called. One by one, counselors cast their decision, light glyphs flaring above their platforms. Support. Support. Abstain. Support. Opposition. When the tally finalized, the hall froze. Resolution 17-4 had passed. Barely. The words echoed like a verdict. Ilara closed her eyes for half a second. Then she looked up. We reject this classification, she said. The hall erupted. Zirith roared. You dare defy a council decree? Threxel 1's wings flared. Defiance invokes consequence. Ilara's voice did not rise. Then record this carefully. She straightened. Humanity does not secede from your galaxy. We simply refuse to belong to your hierarchy. Cade stepped beside her. We will continue to trade. To defend ourselves. To assist where asked. Vale added quietly, and to remember who tried to leash us. The gravity well churned violently. Threxel 1 spoke at last. You leave the council no choice. Ilara nodded. We never expected one. As the human delegation turned to depart, something unprecedented happened. Matriarch Ilthena Kor did not cast her gaze away. Neither did Melkor Dren. A few platforms dimmed, not in opposition but thought. The council had passed a vote that should have ended a problem. Instead, it had revealed something far worse. Humanity was not rebelling. They were opting out. And that was something the Galactic Council had no law to stop. The day the Council lost control, the Galactic Council had many enforcement tools. Armadas. Sanctions. Erasure protocols older than most stars. Entire civilizations had vanished because a quorum decided they were inconvenient. Humanity did not vanish. Instead, the galaxy adjusted. Council enforcement began quietly. Trade restrictions rerouted energy flows away from human systems. Banking nexuses froze accounts tied to soul-based identifiers. Navigation authorities revoked access to major transit corridors. The intent was simple. Starve them. Dr. Soren Vale watched the report stream across his console aboard the UNS Resolute. They assume isolation equals collapse, he said. Ambassador Elara Miles folded her hands. It usually does. Commander Jonah Cade glanced up. But not for us. Human networks flexed. Independent worlds rerouted supply chains through microjumps the Council never catalogued. Civilian convoys traveled in decentralized swarms, impossible to embargo without full militarization. Human engineers repurposed dormant tech, old, resilient, adaptable. Within weeks, trade through human space increased. Not with major empires. With the forgotten ones. Minor species, exploited, sanctioned, ignored, found human ports open and unpoliced. No tribute demanded. No vassalage offered. Just contracts. Melkor Dren noticed first. Their economy is growing, he rumbled during a closed council session. Under sanction. Zirith Vo slammed a claw into his platform. Parasites gather where authority weakens. Or stability attracts need, Ilthena Kor countered softly. Enforcement escalated. Council patrols intercepted human convoys near the Virex corridor. Orders were issued. Weapons armed. Human escorts did not fire. They maneuvered. Patrol sensors overloaded with conflicting data. Engines stalled. Crews reported auditory hallucinations, human voices calmly offering assistance on open channels. When the patrols withdrew, no shots had been fired. But the story spread. The phrase non-hostile resistance began circulating among younger empires. Zirith's patience shattered. He convened an emergency sanction council, invoking Article Black 10, limited military enforcement under council authority. A strike fleet was assembled. Its target was not a colony. It was a symbol. The human mediation hub at Havenfall Station, a rotating habitat where dozens of minor species negotiated trade under human oversight. The fleet arrived without warning. This time the humans were ready. Elara Miles watched from Havenfall's command ring as alarms flared. Evacuate civilian sectors, she ordered. Execute Protocol Atlas. Cade's voice came through the channel. Defense groups deployed. The Serati fleet fired. Human defenses rose, not shields alone but layered redundancies. Kinetic nets absorbed impact. Energy fields redistributed stress. Sections of the station detached, drifting clear with civilians intact. Human ships did not pursue attackers. They surrounded the station. The message that followed was broadcast across every council channel. This is Ambassador Elara Miles, it said. This station is neutral. You are in violation of your own statutes. Zirith snarled back. You forfeited protection when you rejected authority. Authority isn't legitimacy, Elara replied. The human fleet did something unexpected. They opened their archives. Evidence flooded the networks. Council-sanctioned abuses, suppressed votes, erased species, trade manipulation spanning millennia. Not leaked. Sure. Across the galaxy, ancient grievances resurfaced. Council chambers erupted in chaos as minor representatives demanded explanations. Enforcement fleets received conflicting orders. Some stood down. Others defected. Melkor Dren withdrew his support from Article Black 10 mid-engagement. Ilthena Kor did not vote at all. The Serati fleet, suddenly isolated, retreated under covering fire. Havenfall Station still stood. The council convened in emergency session. Threxel's voice fractured with static. Containment has failed. Zira screamed. Then we burn them. No, Melkor said. You cannot burn an idea whose time has arrived. Across the galaxy, worlds watched humanity absorb pressure without rage, respond to violence without escalation, and expose corruption without conquest. The council had lost control not through defeat, but through relevance. As Elara stood overlooking Havenfall's repaired hull, Vale joined her. They can't stop what's coming, he said. Elara nodded. They don't have to. What happens now? She looked out at the stars. Now, she said, we stand. Until the humans stood. The Galactic Council reconvened for the last time as the galaxy had known it. The Hall of Concordance still floated above its gravity well, still wore its ancient banners and ceremonial scars. But something vital had changed. The platforms were no longer full. Some were dark. Some were absent. Others carried delegates who no longer wore the symbols of unquestioned dominance. Council Speaker Threxel I activated the assembly with a resonance strike that echoed hollowly. This emergency convergence is now in session. No laughter followed. High Counselor Zirith Vo stood rigid on his platform, bioluminescence flickering erratically. The Serati Imperium still possessed fleets, still commanded fear. But fear no longer traveled alone. Across from him Ambassador Elara Miles stood, not on the lowest tier nor the middle. She stood on the central ring. No throne. No elevation. Just ground. Representatives of dozens of minor species had gathered behind her. Some scaled, some feathered, some mechanical, some barely understood by council science. They did not kneel. They stood with her. Threxel 1 processed for several seconds longer than normal. Humanity of soul. Your actions have destabilized interstellar governance. Elara nodded. Yes. You have undermined council authority. Yes. You have exposed classified histories. Yes. Zirith snapped, and you have armed dissidents with hope. Elara met his gaze. Hope doesn't need arming. It only needs proof. A murmur rippled through the hall, not fear but recognition. Melkor Dren's voice rolled like distant thunder. The council ruled through inevitability. Humanity has made inevitability negotiable. Ilthena Kor inclined her elegant head. They did not shatter the system. They showed us the cracks. Threxel 1 raised its staff. This assembly must decide. Reassert control, or accept transformation. Zirith surged forward. There can be no acceptance. They laugh at us now. Elara spoke quietly. No one is laughing. The truth of it settled heavily. The council had laughed when humanity arrived, laughed at their size, their softness, their refusal to posture. That laughter felt ancient now. Threxel 1 addressed Elara directly. State your final intent. Elara inhaled. We are not here to replace you, she said. We are not here to rule. She gestured to the gathered species. We are here to stand where voices were once silenced. To trade where tribute was demanded. To defend without conquering. Zirith hissed. And what of us? Elara turned to him. You may stand too, she said. If you choose. The words stunned the hall. Melkor's molten seams dimmed. No execution. No retribution. None, Elara replied. We remember. We record. But we do not erase. Threxel 1 processed again, longer than ever before. The council cannot remain what it was. Silence. Then Melkor Dren did something unprecedented. He deactivated his platform's elevation. It lowered, until it was level with the central ring. I withdraw my empire's claim to unilateral authority, he rumbled. I stand. Ilthena followed, coils unwrapping as her platform descended. So do I. One by one others followed. Not all. Zirith Vo remained elevated, trembling with rage. This is surrender. No, Commander Jonah Cade said calmly from behind Elara. This is survival with dignity. Zirith screamed and cut his channel, his platform retracting violently from the hall. He left alone. Threxel 1's voice echoed, no longer dominant, only present. The Galactic Council will be restructured. Authority distributed. Oversight shared. Pause. Humanity of soul, will you participate? Elara looked around at the gathered species, at the scars and hopes carried into this moment. Yes, she said. But not above anyone. The gravity well dimmed, its pull easing for the first time in recorded history. As the assembly adjourned, word spread faster than light ever could. The galaxy had not been conquered. It had been changed. Not by force. Not by fear. But by a species that endured mockery, survived testing, absorbed pressure, and then stood. And long after the laughter faded from the halls of power, one truth remained, etched into the new history of the stars. Alien empires laughed in the Galactic Council. Until the humans stood.